Hi, I'm Mikhal Strange. I'm a trans man. I transitioned from female to male, and I am an actor, writer. I like to draw comics, and I do a bunch of interesting projects like that. I have been diagnosed with bipolar type 2 with psychotic features. So basically, what that means is that I have the tendency to go more depressed than manic. Manic is like a heightened state of awareness and hyperness that's like really detrimental to your health, and then depression is just like really, really sad and everything and anxious. And then the psychotic features is that I would hallucinate. Um, this started happening around the time when I was I think 19. Around 16 was when I started getting depressed. But also, to just make a perfect storm, I was also trans, and I only started transitioning when I was 25. So I was female all this time and really, really feeling how upset I was, but not really knowing why I was not feeling like I was in my body and happy with it, even though it was a perfectly fine body. Yeah, so that really affected me negatively mentally, not being in the right body. What spurred me realizing I could figure out more about myself than I did was actually meeting a trans woman who didn't want to actually fully transition and still was attracted to women. And her telling me that it's totally okay to not even fit within the binary, even within a transition, really helped me start exploring. And that gave me a huge amount of hope that I never had before. And um, it was just so powerful, but at the same time, it was very hard on my family. A lot of my family members didn't quite understand what was going on with me, and were trying to do what's best for me, but not exactly helping, which made me downward spiral several times and go into the hospital. I was like hospitalized like 7 times in those 5 years. Um, that's just a guess. It might have been more, and it was very difficult trying to find the correct medication, because medication is always just trial and error, and there's no way around it because it's not a perfect science. No one really understands the brain, and these medications just sometimes help and sometimes don't, and everyone's different. So it was a good long while before I found a cocktail of medication that was helping me rather than hindering me with side effects. It is much better. I'm like a different person. I am so much like, well, I'm even a different gender,
I was
but
gonna say, you
like,
could say that more than most.
yes, more than most. So yeah, back then I was so insecure that I was going through many relationships, one after another, after another, after another, and now I have been abstinent for 3 years and have been very content with that. I am so much more confident in myself. I'm now able to say no. I'm even able to be openly angry with people, which is a huge milestone for me because I never allowed myself to even get angry, let alone show it to someone who's like not in my family, you know? And like even in my family, I would always cloak it with humor. I wouldn't really get angry. And this was the first time, like I think this even happened just a few days ago, that I allowed myself to just I I was very like polite about it, but I was mad and I was allowed to be mad. And it was just, I'm now allowing things of myself that I wouldn't before. That like my people pleasing has like dropped. I'm starting to just be like, no, I need to stand up for myself because I am just as worthy as you for respect. And I'm starting to go more for wanting respect than wanting to be liked. And I think of the two, respect is more important. I actually love myself and trust myself, which was a huge journey to get there. And like I remember even one day I was just grocery shopping and walking home, and suddenly I had this like epiphany that I trusted myself. And it was so profound. And one of the things I find that really helps me realize how profound things are is to repeat them to myself. So when that happened, I was like, I trust myself. I trust myself. I trust myself. And it was great. It was like a little mini celebration inside myself. So, you know, and mental health is like a block to all of that. But at the same time, it can be the catalyst for all of that. If you just push through the first initial, like whether it's with chemical help, therapy, self-care, all of it combined, on the other side, it will help you be stronger in yourself than anyone who has it just given to them. Because no strong person's past is easy. Absolutely. It's what I actually say to my brother because he's been going through depression and anxiety right now. And I tell him, well, it's sort of like if you look at people like those that don't have mental health sort of live on the plains. It's very, kind of monotonous, but it's safe. You know your terrain. It is what it is. You can see as far as you go. Whereas us with mental health, we more like live in the mountains where it's treacherous and tough to like get through it, but we have this amazing view that they don't have. And I'm like, that's why so many of us are so gifted. It's because we have this innate struggle in our head that no one else totally understands, but it enables us to really get to a different perspective of life and therefore have this huge like power in that. Finding a counselor you trust and feel okay with, who is knowledgeable and has a good rapport with you, is number one. Because with the transition, they require you to have at least a year-long session of counseling with someone to document how you feel and not at home in your body. In the system as it is, they need documentation just because they don't want to get sued for changing someone's sex before they knew that's what they needed, which I think is kind of strange, but we live in this world for now. So number one is to get therapy. Number two is to find the supports and friends that are truly your friends. The ones that are not fair weather friends that are like, okay, I like you if you're all happy, but I'm like, you better fix this before I come back. Like real friends who are really there for you and will push through the hard moments and stick with you even though you might get snappy one day because it's so hard. And be compassionate with yourself. That's among the number ones, is to have compassion for yourself because this is hard. Like mental health and being transgendered and maybe even both is a really tough journey. And the fact that you're even doing it is amazing. And of course, it's going to feel embarrassing at times. It's going to feel clunky. It's going to feel like there's got to be a better way of doing this. Don't worry. Sometimes you need to make 3 left turns to get it right. I really like, talking about this. So if there's like a need for more explanation on how the transition actually happens, I'm more than willing to explain my whole journey, medically and personally and all of that, because no one really talks about this. I want to be one of the first that do, because it's a very important issue. Many people are feeling this, and not many people know about it, and are afraid to ask about it because they don't want to offend someone. I don't get offended. Yeah, like, it's no big deal to me. I love answering these questions.